Hi, this is Betty plus Books, and this is the end of the year book tag started by Ariel Bissett, which I will link in the description. The first question for the end of the year book tag is there a book that you've started and need to finish before the end of the year? For this, I have the book The Garrett Files by Glenn Cook, and this is a book about a detective in a fantasy setting. It's a little bit older of a book. I think it was written 30 or 40 years ago. I liked the first few chapters of this, and I didn't get very far. I kind of got distracted by Squiggles! I got distracted by another new release that came in, and it's been long enough since I started it and since I stopped reading it that I probably want to start over. But since I did start it this year, I do want to finish it this year. The second question is there an autumnal read that you want to read to get you into the fall spirit and transition you into the next part of the year? This is going to be a reread for me. I'm going to reread The Supernatural Enhancements by Edgar Quintero. I love this cover, and I don't remember a lot of the details of this book, so that's another reason I want to reread it. I remember really liking it. I think I read it in 2019, so it's been a few years. But I remember this being like a kind of spooky, but not too spooky, autumnal fall read. So I'm excited to reread it and see what surprises I come across that I didn't see in the book before. The third question is, are there any new releases you're still waiting to come out? So I have 3 for this one. The first one is When Sorrows Come by Seanan McGuire. It's the most recent book in the October Days series, which is one of my favorite urban fantasy series. The second is the latest installment of the Expanse series, Leviathan Falls by James S.A. Corey. I've really enjoyed both the TV series for The Expanse and the book series. And it's gotten to the point with the TV series where they've kind of deviated a little bit from the plotline. So I might have to refresh myself on what actually happened in the previous books so that I'm not confused, but I am looking forward to that release. The third release I'm looking forward to is the sequel to a book that I only recently read, and that's The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. The first book in this series was A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, and I enjoyed that. I gave it 4 stars, and so I'm looking forward to the second book in the series. Hello, kitten. Question 3 of this tag is, what are 3 books that you want to finish by the end of the year? So I'm continuing on with my trend of looking forward to series, and there are 3 series that I want to read the latest book in this series for before the end of the year. The first one is Death's End by Si-Chin Liu. And this is another one where I'll have to go back and review what happened in the previous books because I remember some tidbits and I remember the endings of those books, but there might be details that I forgot. The second book I want to finish is Into the Fire by Elizabeth Moon. This is the second book in the Vada's Peace series coming after Cold Welcome. And then the third book that I want to finish before the end of the year is A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. This is the second book in the Carl series coming after... What was the first book called? This is the second book in the Carl series. The next question is, do you think that there's a book that could surprise you and become your favorite by the end of the year? I came across We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. That book's supposed to be very emotional. It's supposed to have like a sci-fi bent. It's supposed to be a little bit young adult. I've actually been avoiding that book because I've been a little bit nervous about reading emotional reads, but also emotional reads often become my favorite. So I think I'm going to try to pick that up, and if it's as good as everyone says it is, it might very well end up being one of my favorites of the year. The final question is, are you already making any reading plans for next year? I'm an overplanner, so of course I'm already making reading plans for next year, almost all of which will change before I get to next year, either because I'll become disinterested in them or I will have already done them by the time the year starts. So I have a few ideas of things I want to do. One of those is I want to go through my read list and reread things I don't remember being bad, but I don't really have any memories of whatsoever. There's a particular reason for this, which I'll address in the intro to the vlog for that video. The second thing I want to do next year is I want to read an average of 100 pages or more a day. I've always tracked my reading in terms of number of books read, but I think it's much more valuable to track the number of pages read, especially since then I can count the pages I read of books that I DNF'd. I get credit for everything and not just what I've finished, which I don't like what that says about me, but it's okay. Another thing that I'd like to do, I'd like to reread the Wheel of Time series since the show is coming out It'll probably be a little while before I actually start watching the show, but I'd like to reread at least the beginning books of the Wheel of Time series before I watch that. And another thing I'd like to do, which I can only do because I am a very DNF happy person, is I'd like to read and finish books such that 75% or more of the books I finished end up being 4 or 5 star reads, which basically means I just have to spend my time wisely and not pick up books that aren't actually going to be of interest to me, and not continue books that are really just not doing it for me. All right, that is all for the end of the year book tag. Go check out Ariel's video for this tag, and I will see you next time. I'm going to post Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So until Monday, happy reading.